Hey y'all, Shayla and Dakota here with Pecan Homestead, and today we're going to be talking about the sound of freedom.
So, when we're talking about this, you have to keep in mind that we're totally against sex trafficking of all kinds. That goes without saying, really. But a lot of people are getting emotionally triggered by anybody who might criticize the movie or question the true motives or agenda that could be behind the movie. Now, I want to start off by reading to you the definition of a PSYOP, or psychological operation. We had already actually videoed this one time, and I was kind of thinking it may not be real clear to some of our viewers what we're even saying when we say PSYOP, because most people have honestly probably never heard the term, because why would they in fact want you to know what a PSYOP was if they were going to do it to you? So a psychological operation are operations to convey selected information and indicators to audiences to influence their motives and objectives, reasoning, and ultimately the behavior of governments, organizations, groups, and large foreign powers. So at this point, I want to recommend that you go immediately when you're done watching this video. If you haven't already seen it, go watch Doug from Doug and Stacy Off Grid. Go watch his first video and his second video,
Which I'll make sure to link in our video here
and
below.
Also there is on Alex Jones' platform, there is a well, it's not really a show. He doesn't do a show per se, but he does little information clips, and his name is Greg Reese. And Doug actually took some clips, you'll see him in his video, from Greg Reese. And go watch his video in entirety. And I'm usually up to date on Greg Reese's videos, and I actually just watched it earlier today, and our first filming of this that we may or may not include some things from was yesterday. So this is my gut reaction, and Shayla's gut reaction to the movie and what we think about it. And our reaction really isn't influenced by Doug or by Greg Reese. It's kind of just reaffirming that we're not the only ones that feel like this. So I guess we can kind of get into what we feel like the motives of the movie is. Yeah. And I believe that the motives are to get you to act irrationally with your freedoms, your liberties, and your rights. We've seen it happen in this country before. 9/11, if you remember, I was really young and I remember, so hopefully if you're any older than 32, you really remember this. But after 9/11, we had, like, to go fly on airplanes, you would have security levels or threat levels. It'd be like red was high threat of a terrorist, hijacking or bombing, and then so on and so forth. You'd have like orange, yellow, and green was a good day, and then red was be a scared day. And really what I want to drive home about that is that when they want to, the powers that be want to pass legislation or something to restrict or convince you to participate in something, they want to make you as scared as possible, because scared people comply, because people want to feel safe. And we also seen that in the last 3 years. And this gut feeling that we got from this movie is exactly how we felt in 2020. And before 2020 happened to us, it was actually, I'm not trying to toot my horn, but anybody that knows me, my family, friends. We used to go to a church out in Hinton, Oklahoma. We were involved in a Wednesday night group. Everybody in that group, I told them probably the very first week of February that there was going to be a pandemic and that there was going to be and I didn't know if it was going to be deadly or not, but I told them that our lives were going to change. I may have been a little dramatic on some of it, but not really. Everything that I thought would happen is actually happening. It may not have happened in the first 1 to 3 years like I thought, but we still have tons of fallout from it. And I basically told everybody to be wary of solutions to a problem like that. And anyways, and that's kind of the same gut feeling that we're getting from this movie. And then if you go to Doug's video, he talks about how that what's the name of the company?
Angel?
Not Angel Studios. It was in his last video. The initials of the company.
OUR.
OUR? Yeah. Whatever the name of that company is actually selling software to log children into a database. And I didn't even catch that from his first video. I was really busy when I watched his first video, so I didn't really catch everything in it. And that was what I came out of the theater when we seen it. I said, they're going to try to get you to give up your children's lives over, give them over to them as property and get them on the digital ID and whatnot. And that was our gut feeling. We sat outside the theater with her parents for 30 minutes talking about how this movie is to get people to act in fear irrationally to child sex trafficking.
That was literally the first thing I said when we walked out, because of a specific scene in the movie.
Yeah. So there's a scene. There's a scene that they're going into dangerous territory, cartel territory, and the government agency that they're doing this operation through hands them a couple of syringes, and he says, "Here, inject this into you so that we can track you." Like a microchip or something. Not very realistic, because you can't really just real-time monitor a tracker that small that I know of. Now, I guess if you had a battery, probably not in the jungle though. I mean, you'd have to have really good reception and stuff. But
they have dog collars that do track, but
not something the size of a grain of rice that I know of yet.
No.
Not at least with our type of, coverage, cell phone towers and satellites and whatnot. You'd need some significant antenna and stuff. But it wasn't a very realistic scene. But what I took from it was that it was conditioning. That it was just mental conditioning. Getting people to just accept the idea. And then whenever they find out that, oh, it's not a tracker, gosh, I thought they were going to inject something in me, so I'll just go ahead and I'll get my kids on the digital ID. That's not as bad as putting a chip in you, is it? So, it's psychological. It's psychological warfare, and please, the reason I tell you to go watch Doug's breakdown on it is because I'm not going to steal his clout and copy verbatim what he said about the financing behind the movie. He did a very good job covering it. It has ties to John Podesta. Oh man, I should have pulled up some of the emails from the Podesta email leak. But
that wasn't something that we personally looked up either. We just had a weird gut feeling about the movie, and then just specific scenes from the movie.
Yeah, we didn't. Doug had done a video right before we seen the movie, but we hadn't really watched it. I cut through it, skipped through it, like right before after we already decided to get tickets, and we were going in the theater.
Yeah.
Which is why I didn't even realize. I didn't realize that he was talking about the database for children and stuff that ORU or whatever is trying to sell.
Yeah.
And But anyways, so money is tied all the way back to Podesta, the Clintons, Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. Um, Disney had owned the rights to the movie at one time. We know what Disney's all about.
And if you don't, research it.
Yeah, if you don't know anything about Disney, start digging in.
We done canceled that membership a long time ago.
I mean, there's that awesome sheriff in Florida that's all the time catching pedophiles from Disney that work at Disney. I mean, they'll do a big pedophile sting operation down there around Disney, and they'll catch like a dozen pedophiles that are all working at Disney. So it's like a safe haven. It's like they have like a little city and community for workers and stuff there, don't they? Like they had their own laws and government and stuff at one time. And that was probably the best thing I know Ron DeSantis did. He kind of took some of those self-governing rights away from them. But yeah, that's our gut feeling. That's our take on it. And I'm not saying don't go watch it, but don't react to it. Honestly, I don't feel like we should be contributing money to it just because we know the financing behind it. Carlos Slim, Mexican drug lord or whatever he is, it's just, I don't feel like it's worth my money. And in fact, we took free tickets, and I said, well, this is what I said about it. Shayla wasn't really keen on going to see it in the first place.
Not after all the Facebook hype.
All the hype.
I felt like something was weird about it. I've never been trending, so I kept telling him.
Yeah. One thing that does make somebody nervous about going and getting in line to watch some movies like this, and gives you a feeling right off the bat in your gut, is that big tech they're not going to hype up, the media is not going to hype up something that they don't want you to see. If this movie had gotten zero coverage by the media a few weeks leading up to it releasing, if this movie had gotten shoved down in the algorithms on Google, YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, all these places, if the algorithms hadn't favored it, and these elites that everybody thinks we're after, these elites in this child pedophilia ring, Epstein and all Hollyweird and everybody that went to Epstein Island, everybody thinks that we're after them. But if we were after them, or if this movie was about being after them, they would not let it trend. There's way too much at risk for these elitists, for these government officials that have been on Epstein Island, for these Hollyweirds and all these people. There's way too much at risk, which is why, ultimately, that's my reason for having this weird feeling. And then when Doug released all the finances about it, I was just like, well, there's my confirmation that I'm on the right track. So, like I said, the message behind the movie is solid, but it's how you react to it ultimately. And just be wary of that. Don't go out and react and go find the first database to start dumping all your children's information into, and just be very wary of that. Which, if you watch that Greg Reese video, in the Greg Reese video, it talks about how the CIA had actually created a database cataloging child pornography and different things, and child pedophilia went off the charts as soon as they created that. So, essentially, they want a system to where they can track and take children. I mean, that's what they want. So don't do that. If you want a solution, this is one of our key topics in the previous video that we tried to record. But if you want a solution to this, and you want your children to not fall for, some charming guy that lures her off, or your son or whoever that lures them into some kind of sex trafficking or something, you need to raise them right. They need to be knowledgeable. They need their mom. They need their dad. The nuclear family that all these Marxist organizations want to destroy. The reason they want to destroy that is because they want your kids. So BLM, Antifa, all these groups that hate the nuclear family, which is man, woman, and God in charge of the parents and the children below the parents. If you take that structure out, they can take your kids essentially. And I know that's not always possible in certain family dynamics, but that's best case scenario. After that, you just got to be in your kid's life. You can't just let them go do whatever and just hope that they're learning the right things and that nobody's indoctrinating them, because the fact is, if you're not indoctrinating your children, somebody else is.
And our kids are still young, but we've always been extremely open with them. We don't really hide a whole lot, just because we want them to be aware. And like you
said, our kids know there are weirdos out there.
Yeah. Our
kids have pointed out weirdos before, and that's good. I don't want my kids just walking around with their head in the sand and just saying, "Ooh, accept everybody," and being like, "Well, I got to be nice to them, even though I get a weird feeling." And next thing you know, they've got them.
And even going back to Disney, we did cancel it, but there's still Disney movies they're able to watch, and we basically just gave them the choice on it. We told them, this is why we don't want you to watch it. This is why we don't agree. And they have really impressed us with the decisions they've made, and they have found other movies
my oldest son, he notices satanic symbology
all the time
in movies and cartoons, animated movies. We should probably start pointing out some of these things, some of these movies every now and then when we notice it in a movie, and or like in his school. We do epic charter schools here in Oklahoma, and he's noticed occult symbology in like the what's that class, social studies or something.
Social studies.
Whenever I was in school, social studies was like find a current event and talk about it. It wasn't let's indoctrinate your kid to accept people with occult tattoos on their body and stuff. Having tattoos and just saying, yeah, they like tattoos, it's whatever, is one thing. But having tattoos that symbolize the occult is another thing in public education. And I'm just glad that we have a good teacher right now that lets us say, no, we don't want to participate in certain things. But I'm just, it's just important that your kid can see these things and he doesn't fall for those things.
Yeah.
Knowledge is the key.
Yeah.
I hope you're not too mad at us. I hope you didn't buy too many tickets. No, I'm just kidding. But just take that into consideration. And okay, so Angel Studios is
partnered.
They're the ones who did the Chosen.
Yeah.
And I'm sure you know about the Chosen with the pride flag on set, and the very poor excuse that what's his name,
Dallas
Jenkins gave for the pride flag.
I hope most of you didn't fall for his excuse, because
it's just really sorry. Hiring people that have different opinions than you is fine, but if you're the employer, they should respect your views on that, especially for the audience that you're filming for. And also, what I would say about The Chosen is Dallas Jenkins is 100% correct. It is not a Christian program, so do not think that you're getting your biblical teachings or anything from it, because there is a lot of truth in there, but there's a lot of untruth. And anytime that you're talking about the Word of God, it should just be preached and taught to you in its entirety. Mm-hmm. So in all reality, The Chosen is nothing more than some semi-clean movie. It's just a clean movie. It's like watching Air Bud. That's my opinion on it. It's like watching Air Bud.
Except
that it could be
worse.
Except that it could be. It's probably worse because it's teaching in some ways false doctrine.
Yep.
So you have to be careful about those kind of things. And then so you have to think, a studio that comes out calling themselves Angel Studios who won't teach the true unadulterated Word of God. You have to be wary of everything they put out. And
could they be the fallen angels? Is that where they got their name from?
And then they have this this new movie coming out called The Benefactor, where you essentially serve this benefactor guy to get what you want in life. And there's in the trailer this guy, and also there's a big movement towards everything that we live being a simulation, that our lives is just a simulation, and that there's all these alternate realities and all this stuff. There's a big push for this. I mean, I hear it all the time. It's a simulation. Well, this movie aids and abets on that. It aids and abets that almost a theology, and it's this benefactor guy that he takes his wife from him and then tells him that if you want to see your wife again, then you have to serve me. Kind of sounds like the Antichrist. And for them to have goofed up with this, The Chosen, for them to be involved with this film who was owned by big Hollywood, elite, Hollyweird, pedo type people, including Disney, before them, and for them to come out and release it, it's too much to be a coincidence, guys. And I'm not discrediting Tim Ballard if he saved some kids. That is absolutely awesome, but I just can't get behind this. And as Doug said it, there's other groups out there that are verifiable, that are not shady. Put your money behind them. Step back from this and just look at it. Look at the facts, and don't do anything emotionally.
If you give in to this, just wait till the Mark of the Beast comes out. It's all about emotions. You got to be really careful. So practice now.
Like and subscribe.
Thanks for watching, guys. We'll see you on the next video.